Matt, talk us through your thoughts on that result today.
We're obviously disappointed to lose a game. Football's an interesting game. It quickly brings you back down to earth. We weren't able to meet the ball anywhere on the pitch really first, and if you're not able to do that, you have to defend your box, and that was probably exposed in terms of our defensive aspects of our box defending. So you give the opposition credit. I don't think it's a weakness for ourselves, but in the last couple of games it's certainly been exposed, and we can talk about personnel missing, but we have to find a way of getting there first, and you can work from our goal out in relation to that, because we didn't do that at any point throughout the afternoon until right at the very end, when we got different personnel on the pitch, and it meant every time that ball went close to our goals it was nerve-wracking for the first half, and then we got punished in the second half.
You spoke about conceding from set pieces like we did on Tuesday again. Were we almost caught by surprise? Did Burton and Shrewsbury do something we weren't expecting, or more personnel?
It's personnel, it's execution, it's beyond that, it's mindset for myself. I used their centre half, I think their captain Brayford, as an example. I think he's probably 5'10", and I know he's played championship football and a good level of football. His intent to go and meet the ball was a stark contrast than any of our players. And I know we're without Tim Diang, who does it naturally, and maybe Czech Diabate and Sam Stubbs-Ed, and the ones who've got it naturally with him. If we want to have any chance of football this season, other people are going to have to stand up and be counted when those players aren't on the pitch, and unfortunately today we weren't able to do that. And the second half goals, showed our weakness, but it could have happened beforehand.
You've spoken Burton. It all felt a lot like the Cheltenham game. I think when they went 1-0 up, we were probably expecting them to sit back.
I think Cheltenham sat back from the start. I think it's disrespectful to Burton. I think Burton tried to play forward and run forward and put the ball in difficult areas. We didn't quite have the answers in relation to that. Personnel-wise, you're looking at it from a half-time point of view for myself, and Groundsy coming off of a calf injury almost made it simpler for me to change the shape, to put sort of more round pegs in round holes, but that didn't really strengthen us too much. The only gripe I've got is MJ's onside for Jay Stansfield's goal, clearly onside. So at 0-0 that's an awfully big decision, but that might have masked our weaknesses through the game.
Talk about Jay Stansfield a little bit there. So his movement looked very good today, and obviously you made the decision to start him as well, so we got to see a lot more of him.
Yeah, look, he looked bright, started the game well, got in behind on numerous occasions. He fell foul of where the team was on that football pitch. He was closer to our halfway line watching our team defend our box, because we couldn't get any clean contacts in those moments, and it kept on happening, and we were deep off the back of it. They were high. It meant Jay wasn't close to the opposition goal. When he looked bright and dangerous. I think a couple of players got booked in terms of just holding him back because he couldn't quite handle his legs. We didn't really have a physical platform top end of the pitch until Sam and Harry worked together as a partnership. But we have to be better. We can't judge our attacking play too much, because it felt a little bit like, remember the Northampton final, where any ball forward we just couldn't quite deal with it.
Again, you mentioned Jonathan Grounds as well. The last thing you need is another defensive injury.
Yeah,
what are we saying about him there?
Yeah, look, it's not ideal. I can't say too much about it. Another defensive one. There's no help on the horizon, so that group has to, and myself included, we have to find a way of being effective in those moments. With no disrespect to Burton and the game, that's what ultimately it's come down to today, and they never cut us open with free-flowing football. Not many teams have, but teams will target our penalty spot, our 6-yard box, our D, and play there with physicality and get bodies around it. Now, it's not rocket science, but it seems to be working against ourselves, so somehow we have to find a way of trying to stop at source. But if it's a set piece, you can't do that, and then being better in those moments. And I'm looking at personnel to be really stand up and be counted in those moments.
Something that's spoken about in the week is obviously you thought the Burton's league position was perhaps false. Dino Mama, the managers, came in as well. So obviously there's going to be players there that are looking to impress their new manager, which was probably played to their advantage today.
Yeah, but then you go off the topic of what the game was and what the game felt like. In certain moments we got the ball in good position, but the feel of it meant that there was too much pressure on our attacking moments, and ultimately when we go a little bit shaky and lose a little bit of confidence in our play because we're behind, then that pressure cracks us, and we don't execute well in attacking moments. So it's what comes first, chicken and egg, and we have to somehow fix that problem, because that is a straightforward problem, and the rest of the league are pretty intelligent. They'll quickly figure it out, and they'll quickly do that against us again.
Moving on to next week's game against Forest Green, we've played teams we expect to be at the top, we've played teams we expect expect to be mid-table. We've played teams who expect to be down the bottom this season. We've probably played.
Important we say we don't expect that. That's your guys' perception of it and everyone's perception of it. We don't expect that. We're taking every single game as a new game and a fresh challenge. We don't know enough about the league as yet to be able to assess it and to judge it in that manner, to be honest with you. We've had some fantastic performances here. We've had a couple of difficult performances here. We've got to find the balance of understanding where this team is trying to get to and supporting them through it. It's clear on the back of that last minute goal against us on Tuesday, we were a little bit leggy to start the game. We started the game a little bit hurt and a little bit on the back foot, and then that feeling of those balls in our physical aspect of it in around our box really took its toll today.
Forest Green team we know very well. I think the last 3 or 4 games has ended 0-0 against them, so it'll be about finding something different next week to be able to finally get a win and being on the telly as well. It's an extra incentive for the players.
Yeah, I've said all along we don't need any extra motivation. The players are trying the hardest. No one's not trying, they're not executing, but we have to understand what the level of some of the group are, and certainly when we're a little bit thin on the ground, so they'll need a little bit of love this week. They'll need the supporters and myself to show them and to give them exactly what they need. That's to remind them that they're good players, but the actual bare essentials of football need to be done first and foremost, and then we can start talking about the attacking aspect.